So we saw Greg Minard take the win here at Fort William, but we also saw a lot of crashes in the wooded section. It's super technical, and an awful lot of it you didn't actually see on camera. So let's take a walk through, see just how bad it is and how it affected the race. Okay, so this is the first section as you drop into the woods. You've done the very famous top section of Fort William. It's open, fast, it's rocky, and it was pretty much dry. So therefore you're running dry tyres, and then you drop into this, a big mud bog. There wasn't a camera here for the live footage, but videos over the weekend, we saw an awful lot of people dropping straight into this and flipping straight over the bars. Adam Brayton, Lucas Shaw, and many others did exactly that. So Danny Hart actually described the wood section this year as a lottery. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to ride it today. It's still closed, but I did fancy my chances. I was feeling lucky today, but I'm gonna walk down this section of the course. I'm actually not gonna walk down the middle of the course, it's too difficult to show you how bad it is. Ugh. Well, that mud is over my ankles already, and this is the section that was actually changed in practice. You see this horrible bog. There was a big root there that was keeping everything in there, so people were dropping and going straight over, but didn't get much better for the race. Okay, so that was your welcome to the woods, and that's not even the hardest bit. Let's take a look at the more technical sections lower down. Right, pick a rut, any rut. There's 3 choices here. If you miss a rut, you're absolutely knackered. I actually stood here on the final day of practice and watched this next section, and I probably saw 30 people come through here, and no one got through this section cleanly. I saw Loic Bruni dabbing, saw Minar really struggling for speed. This was a very difficult section. Okay, so you've got a bit of Northshore, lovely bit of respite, but don't get too relaxed because this section again is really difficult. It's a decent sized drop off, and now there's 2 options. You either go right, and you've got to try and gap to this pad, because I did see people go over the bars here as well, so you can't let the front wheel drop. So you'll gap into this pad that isn't a bike length, so you've got to go front wheel, then back wheel, and then jump again, and then you're going into a really horrible section of roots. As we all know, roots in the rain are absolutely deadly. So you've got one big one, and then a whole section of roots and stumps and little drops in between them. Or the other option is to get up here. The first bit doesn't look too hard. You've got a gap and land in this tyre size rut, but now you're up here, you've now got to turn across all this. You've got a big rock there, you've got stumps, look at those roots, and the thing is you can't actually see them. There's so many of them, they're underneath the mud, it's really sketchy, and we did see a lot of people dabbing and finding this section really hard. We asked some of the riders, why was this section just so hard?
Well, you got mud, a bit of rock, and a hell of a lot of root, and a drop into it as well. So, yeah, with some bad weather and a fresh bit of track like that, it's always going to be hard, really, isn't it? But I was a fan of it personally.
I think it boils down to the main thing is they were so flat, you know. They were just so flat that when it's steep, you can get a bit of momentum up, but we couldn't do that.
The track's marked through a bog, and it rains and people ride through it, and you get big ruts in it. So, yeah, it's wet and there's muds and there's roots.
There was just nothing you could do. Like, no matter what you did, you were gonna get wild. Like, no matter how much you committed or whatever, there would be like roots that were going this way that would shoot you that way, and then you'd be out, and then it was like gnarly, unrideable. I don't know.
So that section was technical at the beginning, but then the way it evolved, we couldn't get speed through it. So it was more like staying on the back than actually riding. So even if you had like a good skill, let's say, to go over it, it was just way too slow. So the bike was just stopping, and then you make to the next one, and then you stop again. So it was just too dead.
The woods themselves were okay, but I think they got ruined because we were coming in so slow. It was flat and there was a bog. Like that happened last year, and we turned up this year with like a foot-deep rut before the race started. So we're all for technical, natural sections. Best thing you can put in a track, but either make them steeper. If it's like a bog section, you can't go flat sideways across a hill, or make it fresh each year.
So this is the section where we saw the camera placed on the Red Bull TV footage, and there was an awful lot of crashing going on through here. So Tani Seagrave really, I think she crashed a couple of times on this section. You can see again, it's really muddy. It's actually quite steep, this section, but there's just big bowls where the sort of ground is dug out, and then it's met something like a root or a stump where it can't dig out anymore. And again, it's steep. You've got a big kind of drop into this corner, and this left-hander, again, steps full of roots, full of stumps. Really not an easy place to try and ride your bike. Look at the size of this hole here. There's a lot of chat about wheel size this weekend, but it doesn't matter how big your wheels are. If you drop into the bottom of that, you're pretty much going over the bars. So now you're most of the way through the woods. You've done probably the hardest bit. Now this section was all about trying to keep your feet up on the pedals and carry some speed through. So an awful lot of people get unclipped or on their flat pedals, just dab the whole way down this section. And finally, was the race won or lost in this section?
Definitely lost for people in that section, yeah.
It kind of all depended on that point for sure. It was like, if they're up at the split, you were never sure until they got out the other end of the woods. Yeah.
I'd say it was, yeah. I'd say it was won or lost at that section, or the motorway section at the bottom. So, yeah, hey, the winner was put a lot of time into everyone, so we can't say.
For sure. I lost it before though, so I'm pissed off and I'm mad at myself. And I was thinking maybe too much about the woods, and for sure some people have lost it there. And but look at Aaron, he was on it and then he missed a corner just near the bottom. So I think he took attention really to all the riders. We were focused on the woods, and then maybe sometimes not enough on other parts, and then that's what happened to me, I think.
So that was the woods section at the Fort William World Cup. I actually raced World Cup downhill for 10 years, and I've got to say that is definitely one of the most technical sections I've ever seen. And in the UCI's defence, I've never actually seen them take a section out of a trail that I can remember. I remember them definitely sort of cutting out routes to make them slightly easier. Did it affect the World Cup race? Well, yes, it definitely did. However, we saw Aaron Gwynn get through this section pretty cleanly and then crash on one of the easier sections and still come third. So just goes to prove how hard World Cup downhill racing is. If you want to see more videos from GMBN, click on the logo to subscribe. If you want to see how to ride wet routes, click up there. How to ride mud down there. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video.